What is going on? This is Cody, broadcasting from the Seacrest Studios here at Children's Hospital, Colorado, and it is time for another special edition of the latest news to keep you in the groove with Maya. Woo! Maya, who do we have on the line today?
Eric McCormack.
Oh my gosh, Maya, are you still breathing?
No.
No? Oh my gosh.
I really haven't been breathing this entire day. I can't believe I'm talking to Eric McCormack.
I know. You don't know how many emails we got about how excited she is to talk to you. So I'm going to get out of this conversation. I'm going to let you guys chat. Eric, thank you so much for being here. And we're so glad to have you. Maya, take it away.
Thank you.
Yeah. The first thing my mom told me, like, before I logged on, she was like, remember to breathe.
That's like a good rule pretty much all the time anyway.
Yeah. So my first question for you is, what inspired you to become an actor?
It's like all I've ever done. A lot of guys, a lot of actors, they maybe discover it later in life, maybe at college. When I'm 5 years old, the games I'm playing in my room, before I'd play the game, I would kind of in my mind, I would roll credits. Like everything was a television show to me. And I got into, like, I was 6, I was 7, first grade, second grade, and I was in the little plays we were doing, and I was the lead in one. I wasn't the lead in the other one. I was really upset. I was 7 years old, and I was like, how come Bruce Walker gets to play the lead? So it was just always something I loved. It's always something I wanted. And I'd say probably 11th grade is when I realized this is it. This is all I got. This is what I give.
Cool. So you played Will Truman in one of my all-time favorite shows, Will and Grace. The cast has such great chemistry. Were any of the lines improvised?
The great thing about the show is that I think we made it look like they were, but we had the greatest writers on that show, and that's how they wrote. And particularly after the first few episodes in the first season, way long ago, when they heard everybody's voice, when Karen found her voice and Deborah and I found our thing, and they started to really write for us. So it started to sound so natural coming out of our mouths that I think people thought we were making stuff up, but we weren't. Not usually.
Cool. Yeah, I'm wearing my Will and Grace shirt right now. So
awesome.
Yeah. So what was the best part of playing Will?
Well, the great thing about a sitcom like that, it's an old-fashioned way of doing it, but we really shot every episode in front of a live audience. And people sometimes think we didn't. They think that the laughter was fake or something. It wasn't. Every week we were in front of an audience of about 250 people, and I wish you'd got to come to one of them before we stopped, because I loved inviting people to see how we do it, because we shot a whole episode in 3.5 hours maybe, and we do each scene a couple of times. But that was the most fun for me, is just because I'm from the theater. I did a lot of plays in my 20s, and so every week felt like a play, except we were doing it for television for millions of people. But I loved the feeling of show day and all of us just going over our lines and just getting into hair and makeup, and then coming out and meeting the audience, and the audience were full of people like you, fans that had watched the show for a long time and couldn't believe they got to sort of see the characters up close.
Cool. Yeah, I remember this was like a couple years ago. I came in the morning, like I went downstairs, and my mom, she never watches TV in the morning, she was watching Will and Grace. And so then I just came down and started watching it with her. And then I was just like, I couldn't stop. So
you were hooked?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Well, we never used to be a kind of morning show, but I think now it's kind of good medicine anytime.
Yeah.
I watch it. It comes on at night. My wife's like, "Oh, come into the bedroom, and go, what are you watching?" It's just watching Will and Grace, and she used to come to every taping. She was there when they happened, but it's I think it makes you feel good. It stays fun.
Yeah. So was it strange to play Will for the Will and Grace revival after so many years?
It's a little bit like putting on a favorite sweater that you kind of forgot, or maybe you think it didn't fit you anymore, and you realize how much it just makes you feel so comfortable. That's Will for me was someone that, even though we went 11 years between the original show and the revival, it just felt so comfortable. And particularly because with a sitcom, the sit is short for situation, and the situation was almost always Will's apartment, and that apartment just felt so comfortable to me. And particularly being up in that kitchen where Will was always in the kitchen and talking sort of across the room to the others, and it just felt like home to me.
Oh, cool. So you played Max in another one of my favorite shows, The New Adventures of Old Christine.
Oh, good.
And that show is also so funny. And one of my favorite episodes is the one where you encourage Christine to go on a date with her ex, Mr. Harris.
Right. Okay. I have to think hard on this one. Does that one happen? Is there a scene in a parking lot in that one? I remember the scene in the parking lot, but I don't remember.
No, it's like the one where then you and like Matthew and everyone else all end up like in love with him.
Oh,
and, and like just sending like getting a bunch of pictures of him.
Wow. So I finished Will and Grace, I guess, in 2006. And one of the women that wrote on that show, Carrie went and created The New Adventures of Old Christine and said, as a favor, would I come and do a few episodes? And of course, it's Julia Louis-Dreyfus, who we all just love. So I said, of course I will. But that was so long ago now. I think I'm trying to picture it. Who played Mr. Harris? I'm trying to remember.
Blair Underwood.
Oh, of course. That's right. Yes. So then Blair, this is so strange. I always like stories about how show business sort of revolves on itself. But a few years later, I was doing a play in New York. This was 2012. And Blair was in the theater next door. I mean, I think they shared a wall. And he was doing, I think, a Tennessee Williams play. I think it was Cat on a Hot Tin Roof. And so I got to see him again after that, and we talked about the Christine episode.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I actually interviewed him a couple months ago.
He's just a gorgeous guy. He's so great.
Yeah. So, did you have a favorite episode of The New Adventures of Old Christine to film?
Like I say, I liked the first one because it's always nice when you get to be introduced as a character, and we got to meet you. I think I was her therapist, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But there was one I remember that we did in a parking lot, and I think it might have been the first moment we kissed or something. Do you remember this episode?
Yeah.
And it was something about opening up the back of my car. I don't remember what it was, but I remember you were talking before about improvising. I remember I improvised something in rehearsal for the producers, a different line than they'd written, and they loved it, and we kept that. And so that's always fun when you have writers that trust you to play around. I think that was my favorite moment.
Oh, cool. So you've been in so many different things. Have you had a favorite project or character you've played?
Well, for so many reasons, Will, would be the answer to that. But there's another one. There's two that I did in the last 10 years that I love telling people about if they missed them. The first time, there was a show I did for 3 years on TNT called Perception. in which I played a neuroscience professor who was also dealing with schizophrenia. And ultimately, he helped the FBI solve crimes involving mental illness and that kind of thing. But I loved that character so much. In fact, I was just talking about an hour ago to the guy that created that show, Ken Biller. The other one I love to tell people about, because they can watch it right now very easily, is Travelers. I don't know if you've seen Travelers, but
that's on our list. We are watching Perception right now, and then Travelers. So.
Well, Travelers we finished it about 2 years ago. We shot it in Vancouver. I'm Canadian. I don't know if people know that. And so when I can shoot in Toronto or in Vancouver, I get very excited. But Travelers, we did 3 seasons. They're on Netflix right now. And I think I'm the old guy in it. Everybody else is in their 20s, and they're so talented. It's just a great cast. It's a science fiction show, but I think it's really smart. So I try to tell people to discover Travelers. It's never too late.
Oh, cool. Okay, my next question is actually about Travelers and Perception. So I know that in that Travelers was a science fiction show and Perception was a crime drama. And both show, like, we started watching Perception last night, and I already am obsessed with it. Oh, and I am so excited to watch Travelers. Is it more challenging for you to do comedy or drama?
I love them both because, like I said, I started in the theater, and really what I started was with musical theater when I was in high school, and I did a lot of musicals, and I love singing. I love doing comedy in a musical. I think for me, ultimately, comedy is easier than drama, but drama has a lot of great rewards. And both Perception and Travelers just have there's a lot of moments that as an actor, you look forward to playing, either because they're going to make somebody cry or they're going to be really thrilled. Both those shows have a tremendous amount of suspense in them. And that's really fun to play, the fear of that. But really doing comedy in front of an audience is probably the most fun.
Oh, cool. Yeah. So I know that you're also a singer and have been on Broadway. What was your favorite part of live theater?
Well, a few answers to that one, I guess, because it was, I mentioned about 11th grade before. And when I was in 11th grade, I did a musical called Godspell. And it's just a great musical for kids, for high school kids in particular, because it's just so full of life. It's almost like a clown show. And that was kind of where I just knew for sure. And I always think of that as the beginning for me, the real beginning of thinking of myself as an actor. So that Godspell will always be an answer for me. But the big one is actually 20 years ago this week, believe it or not, exactly 20 years ago this week. I finished Will and Grace season 3, I guess. And then I went right to New York and started The Music Man, which is a great musical for anyone who doesn't know it. It's just a great big old-fashioned musical from the 50s with great songs in it. And learning, and the central role is a guy named Harold Hill, who is a con man, and he tries to sell a bunch of instruments to like kids' instruments for a boys' band to a small town. And he's a liar. He's a rube, but in the end he comes around and he has redemption. But the songs he has as he's trying to sell this small town, this nonsense are some of the hardest to memorize. But once you've got them, they're in your head for the rest of your life. I had so much fun in that show, and it was a great cast.
Oh, cool. So do you have a favorite Broadway play or musical?
Yeah, I got a few. Have you got to see much Broadway? Do you see anything, or do you look at it on YouTube or anything?
Yeah, I am. My goal is to like, we're trying to maybe like sometime this year go and like see a Broadway show, because
Yes.
I've always wanted to do that. My mom has, my sister has, so.
You got to do it. It's great. It's just great. I just think everyone that hasn't had a chance to see a show in New York on Broadway, it's so exciting. My first show, I was 18. I saw a show called Evita, which is still one of my favorites. There's been some lately that I think have become my new favorites. The Book of Mormon was hilarious. Dear Evan Hansen is just a great show.
Yeah.
And Ben Platt, who starred in that, the original production that I saw, he played my boyfriend in an episode of Will and Grace. He was the guy that was way too young for me.
Yeah.
And
I love that episode.
Really a great episode. But what I didn't realize was 20 years ago, I guess it's 19 years ago, when I did Music Man in New York, then I did it one more time here in Los Angeles at the Hollywood Bowl, and for one night only. And there's a really important part in the musical is this little kid that he kind of gets to me, and he gets to my heart. And I realized after I saw Dear Evan Hansen that the little kid for me at the Hollywood Bowl, who was 8 at the time or 9, was Ben Platt, and that was his first show. And then I saw him after Dear Evan Hansen. And I was like, I said, dude, that was unbelievable. It's great to meet you. And he said, what are you talking about? Meet me. I was your Winthrop. And I'm like, what?
That's so cool.
Talent.
Yeah. Yeah, over quarantine like that, it has given me a chance to become like really obsessed with Broadway and Broadway musicals, because I found so many like new soundtracks to listen to, and they've been on repeat since last year. So
which ones are your favorites?
I love Spring Awakening.
Yes, my son, who's 18 now, did Spring Awakening at his high school last year.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, so I agree with you. I think it's an amazing musical.
Yeah.
What was some of the other ones you love?
Oh, I love First Date and Rent, and Dear Evan Hansen and Hamilton. So
that's a pretty good top 5 right there.
Thanks. Yeah. Okay, there's something I was like just about to tell you, and it just went out my brain. So yeah, I'm so starstruck by you. I can't remember anything I'm gonna say. So
well, I'm so happy to meet you, and I just think it's so great that you're doing this show, and you're doing it for your passion, to share with the other people at the hospital and in Colorado there. It's so great. And you do this so well.
Oh, thank you. So what song would be on the soundtrack to your life?
Oh boy. Ooh, that's a good one. I think about that. It's a song you won't know, but I urge you to look it up. Like I said, I'm from Canada, and there was a band out of Canada called the Guess Who many years ago, and the lead singer was a guy called Burton Cummings, and he had a solo career, and he did a song, I'm going to say early 1980s, maybe 81, and it's called Dream of a Child. That's the name of the album, as well as the song. And it's a weird little song, but it's whenever I do a singing engagement, if I do a one-man show with songs, I always finish the night with that song, because it seems to me to be about all the stuff you dream as a kid and trying to make it come true, which is what you're doing on this show, right? You're your own talk show host. I think that's if there's any one song that sums up how I feel about myself and the world and what I'm trying to do. It's probably that one.
Oh, cool. I'm writing it down, so I'm gonna look it up.
Like I said,
So,
the lyrics are a bit weird, but I think that they almost come from like the mind of a little kid playing dress up, you know?
yeah. So who sings that again?
His name is Burton Cummings, with Cummings, and great singer.
Thank you. For yeah, I'm gonna look that up right after.
Okay.
So is there a line from a book, movie, or song that's had a big impact on your life?
Oh, these are good questions. Think about them. A song from it could be a book or a movie.
Or a song.
Right. Or a song. Right now, that song comes to me because the chorus of the song is the dream of a child, the song of a man, the key and the time are at his command if he knows it. And I think that just speaks to me because I think we throw the expression around a lot, you know, dreams coming true and stuff, but I think a lot of it is what we make happen. You know, that's why I love your story, because you're making this happen. You did it, and I think that's part of what I love about the business. That you're not just sitting waiting for the phone to ring or waiting for somebody else. You're taking your life in your hands and making dreams come true. I think that's probably my favorite.
Oh, cool. Yeah. So do you have an all-time favorite TV show?
Yeah. Okay. So, but like you, I've got like a 5 tied for first. You know, it was definitely Seinfeld for a while there before I got Will and Grace. For a long time. I love when I was a kid, the 2 big ones for me, probably 3 big ones. One was called Get Smart. This is going back a long way, but Get Smart, All in the Family, and MASH were 3 shows that I watched when I was about 10, 11, 12. All in the Family and MASH I didn't quite understand because I was too young, but I watched them with my dad, and I watched him laugh, and I thought, okay, I don't get this joke, but he likes it, so I got to remember that. And I think those shows were really formative. You know, I think I became a comedy actor because of those shows, so I'd have to put them there. And then recently, I loved Fleabag. I love a lot of the new television that's happening now.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah, I have like the 3 shows or like the couple of shows I just watch all the time, like just like when I need to laugh, or Will and Grace, The New Adventures of Old Christine, and Friends, and How I Met Your Mother. So
it was a pretty good period of time, and most of those shows had like lots and lots of seasons, so you got lots to choose from.
Yeah. So my last question for you, which makes me really sad because I don't want to hang up. I want to keep talking to you.
We can talk more. I'll ask you questions.
Okay. So my last question for you is, who do you consider to be a real life superhero, and why?
Wow. All right. Who do I consider to be a real life superhero? Well, I mean, honestly, the answer is you and everybody who's dealing with all the stuff you're dealing with, and doing it with a smile, and doing it with courage, and I mean, you guys are the superheroes. And of course, these days, everyone that's looking after your care and everyone that's looking after all of us during this pandemic are anyone that puts themselves in harm's way to protect us all. They're the real heroes, sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. Like all the hospital workers and just all the frontline workers.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Well, thank you so much for calling in. I just had the best time talking to you.
I had a great time too, and I think you have to keep using the unicorn. It just, I don't know, it's like it just works. Yeah. It just works. It's like you're.
Thank you. Yeah, my mom got that for me after I finished radiation. So.
Well, honey, whatever you're doing, keep going. You're so strong and funny and driven, and I'll tell people to about this show, because everyone's gotta have half an hour with you. That's for sure.
Oh, thank you.
Well, Eric, thank you so much for spending so much time with us here at the latest news to keep you in the groove with Maya and Children's Hospital Colorado. I know she will keep us updated on where to see you and catch you on the latest shows and movies, so we look forward to that.
Thank you both. Maya, thank you so much, honey.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.